Welcome back to the Daily Dose of Recovery, and it's Chef Hype Man himself, Mr. J. Barnard. I am the host, and we are massively excited today to have a Scott. I always say his last name wrong. Let's see if I can get it right. Cramer? No. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Cramer? I'm so bad with names. It's one of those things that I am, but it's just, I have a big heart. So we have got Scott. He is devoted dad. He's an author. He's out there on the West Coast, Vancouver, Port Moody, correct?
Well, I'm actually in the Tri-City area, which includes Port Moody, Coquitlam, and Port Coquitlam in the greater Vancouver area.
Okay, beautiful. So he's out in Vancouver. Scott has also been a part of the E2R platform. He was part of our first event in New Westminster, BC. He spoke on stage, and he's also been a part of our online events, speaking as well. Scott, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me.
So a little bit about tips, tricks, and solutions. Who's Scott Cramer? Hope I said that right again. A little bit about your recovery. I know you have some very long-term recovery, so you have some long-term recovery. I also know that you've gone through some health issues, and I also know that you've gone through some grief, and you've, over a period of time, you've created something pretty special for men through your book and how you want to help dads, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Devoted Dad started back in just about the year 2000, shortly after my wife passed away tragically from suicide. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was left with two traumatized teenage daughters. Myself, I was extremely traumatized. I ended up, as a result of that extreme stress that I had gone through, I ended up in the hospital myself, and I was having life-threatening surgery at the time. And I ended up having about a third of my intestines removed. I was married for about 20 years to my wife, and it was a very devastating loss for all of us. Within 2 months after getting out of the hospital, COVID-19 broke out. So I went from 179 pounds down to about 148 pounds in a matter of 2 months, 3 months. So here, my daughters and I, we were faced with an unknown future. We were traumatized. We were terrified. We were horrified about what had happened, within our family. We were, an average Canadian family. My wife was a registered nurse. I am currently still a realtor here in the lower mainland. There was no alcohol or drug addiction problems within our families, because at the time I was 19 years sober. My daughters were 15 and 17 at the time. They'd never seen me ever take a drink or never seen me drunk. But here we were faced with a devastating loss in our family due to a mental illness that had creeped into our family, and that we were unaware of at the time. So the genesis of Devoted Dad came to me because I was looking around desperately after in that situation, in that condensed, forced condensed, very intense situation. I was looking around as a father for help. And I was at chapters, I was looking online, I was looking for some sort of answers or help on how I could overcome or just to help me through this situation. And I didn't really, there was a few books that I found that were kind of helpful, but they weren't tailored to dads, helping dads deal with catastrophe. And the one thing,
there's a big gap in that
Mhm.
in that realm of single dads trying to get recovery, dads where to go, where to look. It is Men's Mental Health Month. I do believe in June too, so it's really exciting that you're talking about this. So yeah, so the books of
Mhm.
dads, and then you started like moving forward with that, or
Yeah, so I started writing a book called. It originally started as called. My working title was at the time, and I initially released it as Daily Dad, picking up the pieces. But we're going to
mm,
re-release it as Devoted Dad,
mm,
and it chronicles my journey with my daughters and I. You know, almost in real time, what we
mm,
were going through at that time, how we were feeling. It's a very authentic telling of what happened, and how I was able to look within myself to find that place within myself to help lead my daughters to safe harbor. Um, because I found that being a dad is one of the cornerstones to our society. And being a dad means that we are the tip of the spear. Being the dad in a family means that everybody looks up to us, for answers, looks up to us for help. And being a dad means that a lot of times, as a father, we have no one to look to,
mm,
no one to get answers, and we find that there's a lot of there isn't the support there for the fathers, for fathers that that are going through these situations. Um, and I think I feel that being a dad is one of the most honorable positions in life, along with being a mother,
oh yeah, I
and I
agree
think.
with you. I mean, little Destiny
Mm,
just makes my heart full of laughter and love, and just like being able to, you know, me too. Destiny has never seen me like the unresolved trauma that led to mental health and addiction. She's never seen me in that lifestyle. She's never seen that side of her dad. She's seen her side of her dad working on himself every single day, and you know that little human being has, you know, changed my life, and also I had the opportunity to be the dad that I wanted in my life, but I wasn't able to have it in my life, and I was able to give that to Destiny, which is like a full circle moment
mm,
for me. And you're right, there isn't a lot of help for dads, and I'm, super stoked with everything that you talk about with men, and how you want to help them. Um, and how your connection with your connection with your daughters, you find out about your wife, you start writing the book, you go through this massive surgery, which almost is like, really, it is life threatening. You go through that, you're going through COVID, you're hitting basically rock bottom because you can't really do your real estate business because it's COVID, everything's shut down. um,
mhm.
how does Scott pull himself out of this? How does Scott look in the mirror and say, I can get on with it? How does Scott say, I got to be the best dad for my daughters? How does Scott say, I got to be the best human being for Scott? How does Scott say, you know, I don't want to die, I want to live? How does Scott do that?
I find that it was fine. It was leading with love, in my family, and it was defining what love is as a father. And for me, defining that love is a place of awareness, presence, and undivided attention. I had to find that I needed to be aware of keenly aware of the situation. I had to be present for my children, and I had to give them my undivided attention. I found that I couldn't fix them, but I had to look within and fix myself. That's the only thing that I had control over. So he who gives up control is the one that has the control. If I had to look at it and say, I can't control the situation. It's done. It's over. It's in the past. Never again. And I could not be, I had to look at it, and I kind of had to detach myself from the emotion of the situation. And I had to cut the strings of anxiety and fear and hurt. And I had to look at it and have a different perspective immediately. I have a little saying. It's kind of get right with yourself right away. And you know, and I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive her. and I had to accept the situation, and I had to, basically, I had to step back and have a little talk with my higher power, and say that this situation wasn't going to affect my relationship with him. And that helped cut the strings of the emotions that are attached to the situation, is through acceptance and forgiveness. And I was able to appropriately use the emotion of anger, that this situation isn't going to take us down. This situation isn't going to make, hurt, take us down. We're not going to take our own lives. We're not going to follow the path of their mother. We're not going to let this take us down financially, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And by using anger appropriately at the time, it helped. It wasn't an anger where I was projecting it on other people or on myself. It was a powerful force just to get done. Right? But, pardon my language. Get stuff done. Sorry. And it did. And then when the time was right, I was able to let that anger go appropriately, and then I was able to, lead with love, and give the necessary.
Love is medicine. So we go right back to love again, and I talked about this in a couple episodes, and I always talk about it. Right? Is love is medicine, right? Like love is love is everything. I mean, you start loving yourself, you can start loving other individuals, and it's just a medicine that you can take. It's free, it's not something that costs money. You know what I mean? Like, so, giving out all the love, kindness, and compassion. So, tips, tricks, and solutions. What would you tell somebody, right? Let's talk about the dads, because you are the dad, you are the devoted dad, you are the guy that wants to show males and men and be a role model, and which is phenomenal. We need more people like you out there in the world that are really standing up, using your voice, using your creativity, using your books, using your stuff to really say, hey, dads, you're not alone. Right? So let's focus this message on the tips, tricks, and solutions of Scott. What would you say to a single dad, a dad that's in a relationship right now, a dad that just has a newborn, dad that's struggling? What would you say for your tips, tricks, and solutions on for that individual that needs to hear it?
Well, what I found for myself was that I did feel alone in that situation. And the one thing that I had to do was to reach out and get help. And that's the hardest thing that men have a hard time doing, is reaching out, because they do feel alone. They feel that reaching out is a weakness. And also, if they do have a desire to reach out and talk to someone, they don't know who to talk to, that they feel safe with. But there are tools out there that you can use. You can talk to, a close family member. You can talk to outside of your wife and children if you feel that's you don't want to upset them. You can talk to a parent or a close friend. Reach out to a buddy. Reach out to get some counseling if you can. There are a number of, if you don't have much money and you can't really afford it, there are a number of free services that are provided by the provincial and federal government, and you can access those. So just reach out, because the one thing that men suffer from is a deep sense of loneliness. 85% of suicides are from men, because of loneliness, a bone-crushing loneliness. And they don't know who to reach out to. They don't know which way to turn. So they don't know what kind of, so I'm trying to provide some sort of sense of community, and with Devoted Dad. So we're, in the early stages of developing devoteddad.ca, so that we can have an online forum of community. A man can go on, he can log on, a father can log on, or even a potential father, a man that wants to be a father, a young dad, a guy that's 18, 19 years old, and he, unexpectedly looking at fatherhood straight down the barrel of fatherhood. What are some tips, tricks, and suggestions that we can make? I'd like to set up like a mentorship program, men that, with grandfathers to fathers and fathers to young fathers to give advice. Set up a chat room. Set up with maybe try to use AI, to teach men how to talk to children or how to talk to women, how to communicate effectively. And basically, it's like, don't isolate. It's don't get caught in your head. Your mind will tell you that it's much worse than what it is. Because your mind will tell you, pick up that drink, pick up that drug, pick up that whatever, and we'll try to alleviate that pain, that pressure, that terror in any way that it can possibly think. So reach out and talk about these things. All I can say is pick up the phone.
Beautiful. That is like one of the best suggestions in the world. When the phone feels like it's the heaviest, that is when you should be picking it up, and that is when you should be calling somebody. And here is the thing: you are never alone. You only tell yourself you're alone, but you're never alone. And that's what's so important about the Empower to Recover Foundation and what we're trying to do all across Canada with our Canadian tour, and how we're showing people's stories and connecting people. The opposite of unresolved trauma is connection, and that is what we're doing with the DDR by showing so many different stories, all kinds of walks of life. Devoted Dad, where do they find you right now? Do they find you on Instagram and Facebook? Do you have any handles?
I have devoteddad.ca. I'm on Facebook under Scott Cramer. You can look me up there on Facebook. And I have devoteddad.ca Instagram. I'm sure right now I'm working with Brooke to get everything all socially set up. And
another Brooke client. We just had Brooke on.
Oh yeah, I know she's fantastic, isn't she? Yeah. So all I can say is that things are getting tougher. There's going to be a massive shift in our economy. Coming up with AI, we're going to see there's going to be a lot of mortgages that are coming due that where people are going to be remortgaging at higher rates. They're going to be, cost of living is going to get even higher. And all I can say is, dads, relax. Pick up that phone, reach out, and talk to anybody. And so we are here for you. You're not alone.
Beautiful message. This is the great and talented devoted dad, Scott Cramer. Make sure to check out his book. Make sure to check out all his social handles. Dads, you are never alone. Dads, you'll never be alone, because we are here for you. Same with men of all ages, all everything. We're here for you. I am the hype man. Make sure to check out empowertorecover.com for our next event. This is the DDR. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. See you, Scott.